Welcome back to another Pristine Productions here. And I want to shout out all the subscribers and supporters. Remember, you can hit me up on Pristine Productions on YouTube. Also, you can check out my website. And if you want me to mix and master for you, I charge reasonable rates, guys. We're going to be doing a very special show here today. And we're going to be talking about the dancehall business here. Today we're going to be talking about tools for sitting your vocals in a mix. So we're going to be talking about how to track the vocals to sit nicely in the mix. So let's get a little play here.
No, real love never turns back on you. No, no. I said real love never turns back on you. You know, no.
And this is one of those old school type modern dancehall fusion here. So let's get right down into it. So I'm not going to be talking about the individual elements here. We're going to focus on the vocal here. So first of all, what are the tools to sit your vocals in a mix? So I'm sure a lot of you might say, okay, well, we could use compressors, you know, we can use EQ and all that stuff. But the key thing is to make sure it's sitting at the right balance with the music. You know, compression helps a lot to let certain things stand out, but we got to make sure that we're in the right place. So a tip, guys, normally when I build rhythms, I'm gonna start with the drum section here. Just to get certain things balanced here. And then we have the bass line here. Now, typically where you want the vocal to be, you want it to be just a little less or a little bit below the drums. Check this out. I have literally no EQ, no compression, and it's at the volume where it was at first. But I'm not hearing the vocal clearly, obviously. So let's get into this. First of all, here's the chain here. And this chain changes all the time. It varies. We're using a compression here. We want to make sure we're getting a little bit more volume, a little bit more analog, a little bit more presence here. So I'm going to kick in the CLA 76 here. I had this vocal at negative 3.3, but I'm going to take it up to louder than where we normally should have. I can hear a little bit better, but I'm going to show you why when we did all the processing, why we'll bring it down to the negative 3.3, was it? Yes. So the fader is at 0 here. So I'm going to kick in the compressor here. We're going to gain some dB here. Vocal might get a little bit loud.
Never turns back on you, no, no. I say real love never turns back on you, you know, no.
Play it again.
Real love never turns back on you, no, no. I say real love never turns back.
Now, although the vocal, it doesn't sound bad at this point, but it's still unbalanced. It's still a little bit, it's stepping a little bit over the drums here.
Back on you.
You want it to be embedded in the mix. You know, so how do we do that? So
no.
I'm knocking about negative 7 dB of compression here. Now we're just controlling the vocal and we're adding a little bit more volume with the compression. Being that it's analog, I'm getting a little bit of color and presence. So next in line, I have the API here, and these are the key fundamental frequency that I'm using for this particular song here. I'm boosting 9 dB at 12.5. Yes, I said it, guys. I'm actually boosting 9 dB at 12.5. The reason why I can get away with a lot more on analog EQ than digital. I'm getting the color. So, and I'm boosting about 2 dB at 8K to give the vocal presence. And that's about it. I have some more EQ I'm going to get into shortly. So let's go ahead and do that. I'm going to turn on the track.
Real love never turns back on you, no, no. I say real love.
Turn on EQ.
Real love never turns its back on you.
Now we all at this point here we haven't reduced the fader on the vocal track. It's just the frequency is giving the vocal a little bit more presence, so it can be cutting through a little bit more.
Real love never turns its back on you, no, no. I say real love.
Off.
Real love
On.
never turns its back on you.
Notice it's get more clear, a little bit more clarity. We have a little bit more air. We move on to digital EQ here. What we're doing here, I'm going to show why I'm using this. I'm going to turn it on. I'm going to bring up back the API from Waves here. And check this out. On the API, we have up to a 12K to boost. And on the second midfield, the MF, the mid filter here, we have up to 8K. And then we have the lower mid here. I like the color from the highs here on the API. On the digital EQ, I'm boosting up to a 13K. I don't have 13 on the API. That's why I'm boosting it here. You might say, Ray, why did you use another analog EQ? Because I wanted a more digital, a cleaner version on the top end. I like the presence as given here in the 12K on the analog, but I wanted more on the digital. So I could have gotten away with another analog EQ at this range too, but stock EQ works, and you use what works. So I'm taking out a little bit of 815 here. I'm going to exaggerate that frequency.
Do you know, no? Real love never turns its back on you.
That's what. Let me isolate the bass here just for the sake of tutorial.
No, no. I say real love.
That's what I'm getting rid of.
Real love never turns its back.
And I'm going to give you a tip, guys. When you're cutting frequency, especially in vocal area, try to get like somewhat of a tight Q if the resonant is just in a small portion of the area. Don't try to get a big Q like this because you're going to mess up the vocal. You don't want to change you don't want to alter the sound of the vocal. You just want to enhance it and notch out certain little things. Try not to go more than 2 dB. Sometimes a little bit more. Sometimes a little bit more may cause problems. It may sound unnatural sometimes. For example, this is clearly a serious mid-range resonance here. So I'm taking about 4 dB here, but very tight Q. The rest here about 332 here. I'm removing the bottom end of the mid-range.
Back on you,
Got a boost.
no. Real love
That's what I'm getting rid of.
never turns its back on you, no, no.
Here's another one at 399, almost 400 kilohertz here. I like these frequencies, so I'm using these.
I say real love never turns its back on you, no. Real love.
So I'm preparing the vocal to have more presence on the upper mid-range by removing a little bit of bottom end. I'm doing some of 139 as well.
Never turn its back on you, no.
Sometimes these are the frequencies that cover up the sweet spot here. And to go down to one more EQ here, I'm boosting a little bit of 3K now and a little bit of 5K. Notice I have already used up the bandwidths on the API with the 8K and 12, so I'm going to the digital here, which is just minor things here. So I'm going to the 3 and the 5K to add a little bit of excitement.
I said real love, never turn its back on you. You know.
Sends.
Real love never turn its back on you. No.
Now I have a female double as well singing with me.
I said real love, real.
Now since we've professionally processed the vocals now, let's see how it will sit. So like I said, you want to generally go below a little bit from the drums here, and that's going to change the feel.
Love never turn its back on you. You know. Real love.
So it doesn't sound bad here, but I'm hearing more of the vocal and less of the music. I want to enjoy the music as well. So let's bring down the vocals.
Never turn its back on you. No. I said real love, never turn its back on you. You know.
Right about there, sounds good.
Real
Now let's bring in the female doubles here.
love never turn its back on you. No. I said real love never turn its back on you.
Now I just introduced something else because I'm adding the double from the female here. It's kind of give two combined vocal. Obviously, it's gonna sound louder. So I'm still back to square one. So I'm gonna drop the vocal a little bit more so it lines up with the doubles, and we have a good sitting in the track here. So let's take it down.
You know. Real
While the doubles is playing, I'm gonna make the adjustment.
love never turn its back on you. No. I said real love never turn its back on you. You know.
And there you can hear the vocals sitting more. So you might say, Ray, so do you sit all vocals about -3 dB? No. You got to take it down where it sits nicely in the mix. Sometimes you want to line up with the drums, or a little bit less than the drums, or sometimes you want to go less than the bass, or a little bit more than piano. You just got to get the sweet spot. But to ensure that you're finding a nice sweet spot, make sure you have already EQ'd the vocals properly. It's properly recorded. It's properly go through the compression if it needs, and you have in your sends and your reverbs and all that stuff. And that's how you sit your vocals.
Real love never turn its back on you. No.
Even if I turn off the double vocal,
No. I said real love.
it's gonna be sitting just nice and dandy, and it's already sounding professional here. Other than having it like really loud about here.
Love never turn its back on you.
Doesn't sound bad, but it doesn't sound professional, doesn't sound balanced. So let's bring it down.
Real love never turn its back on you. No. I said real love never turn its back on you. You know. Real love.
So that's what I wanted to show you guys. To recap what we did, we brought the vocals up to, we had the vocals at 0, just so we can hear the vocal with the mix. And we did some compression here, and we brightened up the vocals with a little bit of a 12K and 8K here, a little bit of analog power to get some presence here, and then followed by a digital EQ to add a little bit more top end because we ran out of frequency on the API. And we did a little bit of cut as well in some of the lower bass and mid-range, so we can continue to make room for my upper mid-range vocals. And we did a little bit of a boosting as well in the 3K area and the 5, just about 1 dB. Slight difference, but makes a big impact. And we cut a little bit 2K and some of the mid-range about 160. And remember, guys, when cutting, try not to go past at least a couple dBs, just so you don't alter the sound of the vocal, make it sound too quiet. And we brought, since we did that, we have the vocal nice and processed. Then we brought down the volume because combined with the doubles, it was still sounding a little bit too louder than the mix. So we brought down the lead here about -3 dB. And that's how we've gotten the vocal to sit nicely with the drums. So I can play it with the drums here and check how nicely this sounds.
Never turn its back on you, no, no.
Nothing is getting in the way of the vocal because we're already EQ'd.
I said real love, never turn its back on.
And I'm mashing a negative 7 dB of compression here, which is working beautifully. So I want to stop there, guys. Remember to hit me up on YouTube, and I'll catch you on the next one.